Two people stand in the same moment of pain. The same silence. After the damage is done, from the outside, it looks equal. If you measured it in events, in facts, in visible wounds, you would say they are suffering the same thing. Yet time passes, and something strange happens. One of them slowly bends, adapts, and moves forward, carrying the pain like a scar. The other begins to collapse under it, as if the weight is too much to bear. We look at them and ask the wrong question. We ask why one is weak and the other is strong. But the real question is far more unsettling. Why did the same pain break one mind and not the other? Pain is never experienced as a raw event. It is always processed. It moves through memory, identity, belief, and expectation before it ever reaches consciousness. Two people can lose the same job, the same relationship, the same dream, yet what they lose internally is never the same. One loses an external role. The other loses the meaning of their existence. From the outside, both lost something. On Teen Seed, one lost a future, while the other lost a self. We tend to believe that pain has an objective weight, that it crushes people according to its size. But pain is not a physical object. It is a psychological experience, and its intensity is shaped by interpretation. The mind does not ask, "What happened?" It asks, "What does this mean about me? About my life, about my worth?" The answer to that question quietly decides whether a person bends or breaks. For one person, the pain becomes information. It says, "This hurts and it matters," but it does not define who I am. For the other, the pain becomes a verdict. It declares, "This happened because you are inadequate, replaceable, unlovable, or doomed to fail." The event is the same, but the conclusion is different. And conclusions are heavier than circumstances. When pain attacks identity, it stops being temporary. It feels permanent. A person whose self-worth is tied tightly to one role, one relationship, or one outcome has built their psychological house on a single pillar. When that pillar cracks, the entire structure trembles. The pain does not just take something away. It threatens to erase who they believe themselves to be. In that moment, the mind does not register loss. It registers annihilation. Another person may value the same things, but does not confuse them with their existence. They feel the loss deeply, but it does not destroy their sense of self. The pain says, "You lost something important." It does not say, "You are nothing without it." That difference is subtle, but it determines survival. What we often fail to see is that present pain rarely arrives alone. It brings companions from the past, unresolved wounds, buried shame, old failures, childhood neglect, moments of humiliation, and years of silent self-doubt rise to the surface. For one person, the pain of today is a single wave. For the other, it is a tidal force made of every unhealed memory crashing at once. The present moment becomes the final straw, not because it is the worst pain, but because it awakens all the others. This is why some people break over something that seems small to outsiders. It was never small inside them. It landed on a foundation already fractured. The mind has a limit, and when pain accumulates beyond what a person believes they can handle, collapse is not weakness. It. Overload. In moments of suffering, the mind tells stories. These stories are quiet, automatic, and persuasive. They do not sound dramatic. They sound like truth. This always happens to me. I never recover from anything. This pain will never end. Everyone else moves on, but I stay stuck. These narratives shape emotional reality more powerfully than the event itself. A person who survives pain tells a different story, even if they do not realize it. Their inner voice says, "This hurts, but it will change. This is heavy, but I have carried weight before. This moment is not my entire life." The person who breaks believes the story completely. They stop seeing pain as a chapter and begin to see it as the whole book. Time collapses. The future feels unreachable. Hope becomes irrational. When pain feels endless, the mind panics, because it is not built to endure suffering without an imagined end. Another invisible difference lies in emotional regulation. One person feels pain without becoming consumed by it. They can step back, even briefly, and observe their emotions instead of drowning in them. The other becomes the pain. It floods the nervous system, overwhelms thought, and shuts down perspective. Logic disappears. Everything feels urgent, catastrophic, and final. In this state, the brain is no longer solving problems. It is trying to survive. This is why telling someone in deep pain to be strong or think positive often makes things worse. Strength is not a switch you flip in the middle of a psychological storm. It is a capacity built long before the pain arrives, through self-awareness, emotional literacy, and the ability to separate identity from experience. Meaning plays a crucial role here. Human beings can endure extraordinary suffering if they can attach meaning to it. Pain with meaning becomes sacrifice, growth, or transformation. Pain without meaning becomes torture. One person asks, "Why is this happening to me?" and finds no answer. The other asks, "What is this asking of me?" and begins to shape a response. The pain does not disappear, but it becomes purposeful rather than pointless. This does not mean the survivor feels less pain. Often, they feel it just as deeply. The difference is not numbness. It is direction. Pain that moves toward something, even slowly, is bearable. Pain that feels random and meaningless drains the will to endure. The moment of breaking rarely looks dramatic. It is usually quiet. It happens when the mind finally decides that the pain exceeds its capacity to cope. Not actual capacity, but perceived capacity. The person believes, deeply and sincerely, that they cannot carry this anymore. That belief is what causes the collapse. And beliefs, unlike bones, do not show cracks on the surface. Society often praises resilience without understanding it. We call survivors strong, as if strength were a genetic gift. But resilience is not about having thicker skin. It is about having a flexible identity, a compassionate inner voice, and the ability to create meaning from suffering. The person who survives pain is not superior. They are simply equipped with a psychological framework that allows pain to move through them instead of becoming them. The person who breaks is not broken forever. Breaking is not failure. It is a signal that something inside needs attention, healing, and reconstruction. When the mind collapses under pain, it is not betraying the person. It is protecting them from further overload. What looks like weakness is often the beginning of awareness. Two people face the same pain, but they are never facing it with the same mind. One carries a self that can absorb shock without shattering. The other carries a self already fragmented, already exhausted, already fighting invisible battles. Pain does not create these differences. It reveals them. In the end, pain is not the enemy. Unexamined meaning is the pain that breaks one person and strengthens another is the same fire. What changes is the structure of the mind it enters. One is rigid and cracks. The other is flexible and reshapes itself around the heat. The real tragedy is not that some people break under pain. It is that we judge them for it, without understanding what they were carrying long before the pain arrived. Survival is not about enduring more suffering. It is about understanding it, interpreting it, and refusing to let it define the entirety of who you are. The invisible truth is this: pain does not decide who breaks, the mind does, and the mind can be rebuilt.